think let's rock and roll. Very good afternoon to all. I hope everybody is comfortable for the next 1 hour. So good afternoon to all. Thank you for joining AJT's second webinar series, Navigating Our Future, Embracing the New Wellness Lifestyle. Welcome back, our participants who have joined us in our first series. And thank you for coming back to the second, and a warm welcome to new participants. Just a few little note for us to take. Our apologies that Michael Sangos, our speaker, is unable to join us for today due to urgent matters that he has to attend to. And we wish him well. For sure, he will be making a return on our upcoming series. Nevertheless, we have Christopher, Gavin, and Isaac who will be sharing their expertise on today's topic of rethinking hospitality design and innovation. Just a little bit about AJT. Well, AJT is founded 7 years ago. We are a concept innovative planner, designs for hotels, hospitality, wellness, and medical centers. We are basically a one full turnkey management consulting company based in Singapore and in Thailand. And we have offices as well in Cambodia. Now, without further ado, I just would like to give you a little bit of brief over what's in the hotel industry. I always recall when I was young in the early 70s as a busboy, as a waiter, what hotel would have and where we are today, and compared to yesterday and today, it's a very big difference. Over the past 20 years, many factors of hotels industry have shifted to adapt to new technology and changing customers' behavior, which have in turn and change new hotel ways of conducting business. Facilities in hotels, from bed to breakfast, gym to functional gym, spas, business centers, it all seems to be going away. What's new that's coming? We used to have big ballrooms. Now it's more technology in the ballrooms. You know, more and more things are there. From wellness, we had wellness. Again, how do we define wellness? It's again on individual. We have wellness that is basically pampering. Some people will take it as a pampering method. Some people will take it as a medical approach. But the changes along yesterday and today has drastically changed. Even from traditional room keys to key cards, to finger scans, to smartphones, technology. And these are all coming up in the new wave of the hospitality. Well, AJT offers a new sight on how we can change this vision. New architectural in business, future, hotel fittings, new needs of today's style of living. How can we enhance new wellness facilities, lifestyle into hotels and resort, staying in a healthy environment? Well, in this webinar series, a joint collaboration between AJT and our partner architect, Swan and Maclaren International Singapore. I think many of you would know Swan and Maclaren in Singapore. They have been established since 1892. The firm is one of the oldest in Singapore. They have a good track record. I think Swan has developed many traditional branded hotels in Singapore, like the Raffles, the Goodwood Park, and they haven't gone into medical, like the Raffles Medical Center in Beach Road, and they have done many Raffles hotels in Shanghai and Chongqing, China. Swan is currently active in Singapore, in Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, for hotels under brands such as Accor, Marriott, and Singapore very own Escorts. The firm is involved in commercial mixed-use, hospitality, resident development for clients throughout Southeast Asia. Well, representing Swan and our keynote speaker, we have Chris with nearly 30 years of experience in design, fortunate to be involved in many innovative hotels over the years. Chris, including Philip Stack Design for the Iron Schneider Group in St. Martin Hotels in London, Starwoods in the Meridian, Bangkok, and most recently, the Yotel Air in Asia, which is Singapore Jewels Changi Airport. Chris, we would like to welcome you, and Chris brings him with trusted hotel in technology, in architecture for Pacific Islands and Micro-Asia. Chris, welcome on board and all over to you.
Well, thank you, Anthony. That's a big intro to try and live up to. As you say, Swan Maclaren is the oldest architecture firm in Singapore, 128 years of continuous practice, only stopped by the war. We have completed many hotel projects over the years. And what I'd like to talk about today a little bit is just to show some of the things that have been worked on, past, present, and future, to show us where we've been in the hotel industry a little bit, and to give us food for thoughts for the discussion on the panels. So with that, I'll share my screen and start my slides.
Panelists, sorry, Chris, 1 second.
Yep.
Participants, please, if you have any question, please key in your question to the chat box, and we will take your Q&A right after all the speakers has presented. Thank you. Chris.
Okay, thank you. You can see the screen okay, Anthony? Everything working?
Perfect, perfect. We are open.
So I think, first of all, yes, we're open in Singapore. The designers, the consultancies, even during lockdown, we've been working from home. We've been carrying on the projects for our clients in this crisis of the virus. And for Swan Maclaren itself, our heritage starts in the golden age and the romance of travel with the Raffles Hotel, one of the very first touring hotels in Asia, sister to the hotels in Myanmar, as well as the Strand, and the sister hotel, the E&O in Penang. They were all owned by the Sarsky brothers, two of which were designed by our forefathers, the Raffles and the Strand. That really represented the start point of the hotel industry, I'd like to think. The glamour, the touring, and the sense of place for identity for hotels and the cultures that they were being established in. And we went into the 20th century, things became more towards the business traveler's needs, realizing long and short stays, creating the business, as you say, for MICE, for business centers, fulfilling of those spaces and the needs of the business travelers globally. These became projects which were at the forefront of the industry, catering to that niche, as it were, as well as the growth in mass tourism more recently in the last 20, 25, 30 years. These have become the mainstay of the hotel industry. So for such projects like this one in Beijing, it was actually a renovation of a service apartment hotel for business people over 35 years old, and it needed a complete upgrade, making it brighter, more modern, and more light coming into the project. These are important touchstones, I think, for some of the discussions that can happen later. The sense of space and light and air in hotels. As we traveled in from the 20th century, now I think we're looking at the 21st century with projects that hotel operators such as Yotel, who created the Yotel brand for short stay accommodations at transit centers, at airports, both airside and landside. The project we were delighted to be involved in was the Yotel Air at Changi Airport, which is actually situated inside the Jewel. So it's connected to nature. It's got one of the best locations I can think of to have a biophilic design, because we just opened up to the Jewel and brought the green into our space. And people like Yotel, they push the boundaries for our traveling future, for that connectivity, that digitally connected world. You can check in using your mobile phone. You actually don't have to really go to anybody. You can check in online, or you can check out at the kiosks there. And then you can go up to your rooms, and they're all fully automated. As well as they're trying to do little robots to deliver you things. So if you found you don't have a toothbrush, you just call it up, and this little guy will actually deliver it to your door, hands-free. So this is also an important discussion for later on, I think, where the industry might be going in two streams of thoughts. One for what happens post-corona, and what happens to the major tourists, the high-end tourists, where they still want to have their luxuries, how to accommodate that. But I think also what's been developing in the last 15 to 20 years or more has been this concept of wellness, our body, mind, and spirit, and how we incorporate that into our travels into our experiences. The next generation of travelers are very centered on experience. They want to go somewhere, they want to have a unique personal experience, and they also want to find that they can do something for their body and their mind, as well as for their tourism needs. And this is where projects such as Auriga Spa and Hotel that we were working in China, it's on site, but it has since been sold to another developer under another brand. But originally our program came from Capella, and it was to be a full spa hotel with spa villas separate in the gardens, as well as 108 keys all facing the ocean. The design itself focused on the light and air that can come into the rooms. All of them face the ocean and also face large landscapes. These became touchstones, I think, for the industry, how we can incorporate nature into projects and into our developments, both as city and resort type developments. And for example, on the Riga, they had the private pool villas for your retreat spas. Everyone had a little gym inside, their own personal pool, and these things. This is the culmination, I think, of the late 20th century of our thinkings on hotels, the luxury travel, and then getting into the pampering and the spa and the wellness, Auriga being a very big spa brand under the Capella Group. And all of that starts touching us into this wellness, and our tourism and wellness. As reported by Global Institute, that represents a $4.5 trillion market in 2019 and 18. But if we just focused on the wellness aspect in tourism, we can see we've got wellness estate, wellness tourism, thermal spas, and the spa economy itself. Just segregating that out from the others is $848 billion worth of wellness market that the hospitality industry can be tapping into and growing into, I think, after this corona, the virus age. For example, a project that was on our books being designed in the Philippines was starting out as a normal retreat, a normal resort. Now the clients come back and says, can you rethink the program a little bit? We're interested in having that wellness retreat aspect. And how can you incorporate that into our development so that we can be even more closer to nature, more biophilic, and creating that wellness design. So you would think with a resort in the Philippines on the beach, that's not such a hard task. We already have wonderful views, good light, good air, but at the same time, bring in even more greenery into the landscape, more space between the villas to allow that distancing routes and let that air and light flow between the buildings. This becomes part and central to the concept. As well as then, instead of having that ballroom feature, we start reorganizing that to become an increased specialist facility for a wellness center, for health, for check-in, for checkup, and medical support as needed during your stays to focus it as a wellness retreat. And that includes where the owner can tap into local hospital centers to create a link between the medical community for all the specialist needs and have on-call specialist services. This then becomes a full rounded service wellness retreat. Some of the items that we work to get into that kind of wellness concept is working with people like AJT for developing the 5 senses experience in your wellness stay. Developing the invigorating taste for healthy dining, healthy eating, healthy drinking, how sight can be harmonized in the nature with greenery and lighting, how our smell, relaxing and invigorated with a purifying air ionizers, and scent can really help us get a good night's sleep with a nice scent in the room. But also in our hearing, with music therapy, calming center of music coming through the lobbies and the rooms, and stimuli for our in-room entertainment. And then importantly, touch for our comfort and belonging, where we have our bed linens, our showers, etc. What touches our body becomes a central aspect of our stay. And that was central to the client asking us, increase the wellness elements and bring in a little bit of clinical health into the development. So we're currently working on that to create those private villa suites as a wellness retreat and seeing how, working with people like AJT, we can bring in the more clinical aspects of the project. But that will bring us to the next conversation, Azor. That's our past, present, and future. In the short term, travel will be shaped by the bold. So if I want to go on a holiday, at the moment, I can't even go to Bangkok. So it's kind of stuck. Yeah. But many people are longing to travel, longing to have those experiences. And I think the increase in in-country travel for local residents is going to be increasing. And that's already seen in Malaysia, where people are traveling and getting out and about to places they know, they've seen, but they want to be again and want to have an escape. We're grappling with mass tourism. This is one of the issues that the future of the hospitality and hotel design needs to think about. How we want to continue the way the track was going before, or what happened after the immediate impact. So our cultural tourism and our natural tours are actually harming our environment by the sheer quantity that's been building up over the last years. Good for the industry, but bad for those landmarks and bad for our environment. Now we're at the point where we can actually rethink that. We can look at our developments, we can look at how we want to interact with tourism and bring that into a more ecological sensibility, both in the city and also in the countryside. Of course, the hospitality industry is built on the promise and service. And we have to build on that assurance of safety and health now. Our standard operating procedures during and after visits, while retaining our privacy on our digital knowledge, is important. And if we see travel as a risk, why would we do it? Well, we as designers, we as an industry, will have to sell the benefit to overcome our fears and focus on the experience that we're delivering them and how that experience for a traveler is maintained. So say, for example, I'm taking my normal route to try and get into Bangkok. I'm going from home to the airport, to the plane, off at the airport, and then at the hotel, my destination, let alone all the touch points that happen in between. And then once I'm there, then I have to go back and do that again. How as an industry are we going to support that? Or who helps to support that as a safe route? When you assume that anyone encountered can be a potential point of infection. This is our fear. Luckily, the industry is overcoming that. People such as Ascot, Yotel, Accor, and all the other industry hotel players are developing their own safety guidelines and assuring us of our safe travels, such as Ascot Care, Yotel Smart and Stay, and the Accor Group's All Safe label. And even the governments are getting involved. I'm glad to say that Singapore is probably one of the very first to come out with their own certifying system, SG Clean, where hoteliers and other businesses can join, become a member of that, and be vetted and certified as an SG Clean accommodation. I'd like to actually ask the industry, can they come together in a bigger scale? Can we have a more global system where we can, as travelers, be safe and secure, so that we don't have to return to the normal and be fearful? And in design, how can we help in doing that? Well, first off, our entrance experience is going to change. The fact that we have to have temperature checks, validations, touch points clean, reduce the touch points for lifts and things like that, will become part of the standard procedures for our hotel design, as well as distance design. Removing that high level of contact, creating F&B systems that are planned well and planned in styling that allow us to have safe distancing while we're maintaining those occupancies that operators need to keep going. Also, the operating procedures will be working closely with everybody, and the hygiene regimes that increase. Rethinking interior design to reduce our clutter. Utilize some hygienic and antibacterial materials to make it easier for those cleaning regimes to happen, but also bring in green, bring in air, bring in light, even more so than our projects. You would think as architects, these are our normal tools of the trade, but sometimes we actually do lose sight of that, and this has put more focus on that. So biophilic design becomes a very important aspect of our design, and increasing our wellness footprint and focus. That's an opportunity out of a crisis. Also establishing those certification collaborations, I think, is an opportunity for the industry. And on the digital side, developing that seamless digital process where I can check in, check out just with my phone and not touch anything, which was already in the process, but I think is now even more faster being done. And the industry is really moving forward on that really fast. So those are some of the interesting thoughts I thought being to the panel, some of the insights or viewpoints I have. I just got this slide sent to me by a friend. This is what I call the mindfulness wellness. So it's an example of social distancing yoga, and it was done in Toronto in Canada. And I was just wondering if this is the case for our future in terms of wellness, where we can be communal, but be separate at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Well, I like the dome, you know, because I always have that in my mind, having domes and glass, putting on a rooftop, positioning that dome towards the morning sun where you get a good vitamin D absorption, which is really fabulous, you know, because vitamin D is something that we all need, especially at this time of the crisis with the COVID-19. It's the king of vitamins.
Yeah, good for us Westerners. We enjoy the sun a lot, but maybe you're a bit shy for the Asians.
I tell you seriously, I like that dome concept. We have developed 1 or 2 projects on that dome. Anyway, Chris, thank you so much. Please, participant, please take note if your questions has not been answered during this session. Please need not to worry. Kindly participate in our WhatsApp group. At the back of my screen, you could see the QR code. Please scan that through, and that QR will give you a longevity of with all of us in the list of speakers that will join in this series that will be participating with you in terms of friendship, network, and ongoing innovation. So without any further, I would like to bring someone who I've known in Thailand for the last, I would say, 5-6 years. I've known him, someone who is very vision on boutique hotels, someone who loves to bring in concepts. And now he has moved towards a good brand that he has established in Thailand over the last 13 years. This is no person that I must really introduce you as Gavin. Gavin Beauvais is a founder and CEO of Envision. Prior, Gavin has Envision for 13 years. He served as a Thailand country manager for the Marriott International, where he celebrated 25 years. 25 years, Gavin? Wow.
Long time.
Hospitality powerhouse. And he became a chief operating officer for the Minor Hotel Group. And during that time, he oversaw the Anantara brand development and Mandra Spa, which subsequently became an Anantara Spa. Wow, that's something, Gavin. Gavin has also sat on the board on the Four Seasons, intimately involved in designing developments and opening of the Four Seasons Tan Kai in Chiang Mai. Am I correct, Gavin? Did I miss anything of your?
Oh, I think you got that pretty well.
But Gavin, tell me before you start, what bring you to Asia? You know, what bring you to Asia? Really?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. You know, we were really having a great career, moving around the U.S. and really enjoying life. But you know, we came to Asia 22 years ago, and we both had my wife and I, a keen interest to explore luxury at a much higher level, wellness and Buddhism. You know, when we arrived in Thailand, tourists in Thailand were shy of 5 million tourists.
Wow.
Last year, we had over 40 million tourists. So we've seen amazing growth here in the last 22 years. And it's been a great place to be. Southeast Asia has been exciting. And I can't imagine a better place to have become 22 years ago to learn, you know, something completely different.
So you're still glowing. You're still glowing. You got a lot of glows now. Your glows
Absolutely.
are going more and more.
Absolutely.
Now. You have 2 handfuls of properties of glows and Mai Tai hotels around this region, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you know, great. Thanks, Anthony. You know, we started Envision after spending a lot of time with the big brands. I learned an awful lot and couldn't be here today if I hadn't had that kind of experience. But I really thought in starting a small regional boutique management company to try to create better mutually beneficial relationships with owners. I want to get more personal with the owners, easier contracts. I wanted to make sure that we shared the risk and the upside with owners, and that technical services were designed on a sensible return on investment instead of just building big and having a lot of extra stuff in the storeroom. And I think that really has proven to be really beneficial. When we look at the HMA, hotel management agreements, the standard model in our industry is to have a SMR fee and a base fee, and then an incentive fee at 7 or 8% of the gross operating profit. We started off with a graduated scale, and we think it's a better way. If the owner is invested and they still can't or haven't yet achieved a business level where they can pay their principal interest on their mortgage, then why should we be getting a fee? Our job and our motivation should be to get that business ramped up as quickly as possible, make sure the owner is paying his principal interest, and then we should then be able to benefit as far as the GOP is concerned. We've set back the last 90 days with not a lot of business. We looked, as Chris mentioned, we've looked at how we've done business the last 10 or 12 years. And we had a cleanliness standard that was in place, but we took a 50-page standard and we improved that. And we took into the COVID environment, and it's now a 75-page document. But I think it's more meaningful, it's more timely, it's evolved into the local, regional, and global requirements that are going to be put on us as hoteliers. And I think that's been a great use of our time as we've been having all of our hotels shut down. I think it's important when we look at the guest journey, from when you're making your booking, do you have the confidence and the faith, to your arrival at the airport, to the hotel, to the individual experiences that you're going to have during staying with us, and that we make sure we look at each single point. When we look at one of the key buzzwords today of physical distancing, one of the things that I really think is important when it comes to design, when we're looking at resorts and wellness, is the physical distancing. And this is a strategy we've embraced for a very long time, pre-COVID. And these are 4 pictures along the bottom that are suited for post-COVID. We've always taken an approach that you're going to have high season and you're going to be very busy, and you're going to have low season where there's less demand. Clearly, we're going to be going into a low season mentality going forward here for the next 12 or 18 months. And I think it's important when you design that we've got space and storerooms so we don't have a dining room with 200 tables when we've only running a 50% occupancy. So we need proper storage. We need proper ability to put things together so that things really come together. And I think we need to take design into place for COVID, but also for low and high seasonality. As we go forward, and I think on today's topic, as we look at holistic wellness, these are 5 pillars that we're building into our wellness resorts, our wellness retreats. And the term wellness perhaps is not clearly defined. Things like green, a lot of people have greenwashed things, but there's a standard for green. When you look at design and you look at the LEED standards, if you're a LEED's Platinum, you're doing a really pretty amazing job and you're spending more money, but you're creating sustainability. Your investment's going to take longer to return, but in the long run, your asset's going to be worth more, you're going to have less operating cost, and you're going to be helping the planet that we all have to live on, and our children and our grandchildren. When we think about terms like boutique, I thought boutique was a small 25 to 50 room hotel. But when you go to Las Vegas or you go to Macau, there's 2,000, 3,000 room hotels. Suddenly, everybody thinks boutique is a 200 room hotel. So it has a lot of different meaning. And I think for wellness, Michael mentioned earlier the Global Wellness Institute. They really have a good guideline on wellness and wellness standards. And working with Anthony and AJT, we certainly have been able to help define that better. I think as we look at the 5 pillars that's important to us in holistic wellness, when we look at the first pillar, and we look at a meditation center, it's really clear that we have to get people involved that understand meditation, and that we can help not only give you a great experience, but that we can help educate you so you can take that home with you and start to build that in. When we look at our wellness villas, it's really important that we think about sleep. We spend a third of our lives sleeping, but yet so little effort really goes into bedding and hotel rooms sometimes when you really think about it. And from a wellness standpoint, I think what sets apart a traditional hotel and a wellness retreat would be, dramatically healthier bedding, better air purification, humidity control systems, antioxidant paints, in-room training zones, and some space protector anti-radiation. These are things that we really clearly have to bring into a wellness retreat as we look at how we operate. As we look at our overall nutrition, so much that is important. If you come to a wellness retreat, it's easy to do a cleanse. It's easy to do a juicing program. The question is, is it something you can take home? Is it something that's going to make your life sustainable? Are we looking at food combination programs? Are we looking at eating for your blood type? These are things that need to be highly customized and really, I think, important for a holistic wellness retreat. As we look at activity, I've been listening to everybody talk about how they've been putting on weight during the shutdown and the quarantines. But I think for most of us who have a physical activity schedule, I find that with less travel, I've actually been able to lose a few kilos. But that takes a lot of effort. And I think good to get out of the house and go for a run and be able to do some different things. But when we look at a resort and we look at a wellness retreat, we've got to be able to help you with your body composition. We've got to be able to help you with exercise, with oxygen therapy. We want to be able to look at things like pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, things that professional athletes and astronauts use. But the technology is there, and we need to embrace that. Also on the pampering and the spa side, some deep tissue compression therapy. These are things that go well beyond a traditional spa, and I think really important as we look at wellness. When we look at the final pillar and we look at medical or the clinical phase, and this is where I really have enjoyed working with Anthony and Welody, to be able to do something that I don't have the skill in. We need medical expertise and wellness expertise well beyond what any hotelier is going to be able to bring to the table. We've got to be able to look at proper health screening. We've got to be able to look at toxin scans. We've got to look at breathing parameter feedback, saliva nitrous oxide test, balanced body position testing, aura scans. There's a whole range of things that we're building into our holistic wellness retreats. And I think as we go forward, there's really 2 things I want to talk about today. One is, how do we evolve existing resorts? And then what do we do for a greenfield environment? We've got a resort on Koh Yao Noi that we've been managing, the Glow Elixir, Koh Yao Yai rather, for over 10 years. And this was a resort, 40 small villas, private beach, beautiful island, but it's really tough in the summertime to be able to fill this resort up. And prices get super sensitive. So early last year, we did a case study and we studied what would happen if we really looked at modification of this resort. We took some existing buildings, repurposed them, so we didn't have a huge expense on building new buildings, but we looked rather at a CapEx program to bring into everything you see on this screen. We looked at this and we knew that if we could bring wellness into the resort, we could get longer stays, and that people seeking wellness don't care about school breaks and high season and low season. These are people that will come 12 months out of the year. So we looked at this, and with a CapEx of about 500 to 700,000 USD, it was a bit overwhelming for our owners, candidly, when we first looked at that. But when we talked and looked at the return on that investment, in a traditional hotel, when we look at a return on investment, you're going to look at a probably 6, 7, 8 year return on your investment. With this CapEx investment to add wellness into an existing resort, we were able to look at gross operating margins on the wellness piece in 50 to 60% margins. We were able to do an ROI on a pretty conservative basis to be able to get this to about a 3-year return on investment. So there was a really great effort put in to figure out how we could position ourselves uniquely in an existing resort. When we look at new Greenfield projects, ironically, with the downturn and all of our hotels shut down, in March, we started a new project that came to us, we've been working on for a little while, but a Greenfield project. And what I really love about Greenfield development is we can get it 100% right. But I think part of what you've got to think about when you think about getting it 100% right is how do you look at the space allocation? We're looking at this Penang resort high up on the hillside, stunning views. We're going to have about 100 villas and rooms, but we've allocated 600 square meters for meditation. We've allocated about 550 square meters for spa, and we've dedicated about 900 square meters for the medical clinical side. So you can see there's a huge commitment to the space that will help make this much more than a traditional resort. And with the kind of returns I talked about earlier, I think that's really important as we look at that. When we do business models, the big mistake often is we look at construction cost and everybody assumes you're going to be able to control the construction cost, hopefully bring it a little bit under budget. But in all my time, and certainly my time in Asia, I don't think I've seen a project come in under budget yet. I think when we do original modeling, and for those of you in the crowd who are developers, landowners, and you want to get into this game, you really got to be able to look at your construction cost and your timelines. And I would say, take your cost and add 10 or 20%. Then look at the operating models and look at your rates and occupancies and assume more of a worst case scenario there. Take your average rates a little bit lower than the market. Take your occupancies a little bit lower than the market. If you're able to combine these two and the project still makes sense, then I would say go ahead. But if the project looks like it's going to be tough from the start, then sit on the land. Don't develop it. It'll be much easier. Land is always going to appreciate. But I think the reality is the business modeling, the common sense approach in this is really important. And that's why, great architects and great operators have got to come together and have got to work really well. This project that we're doing is really quite exciting as a Greenfield project. But I think more importantly, as we go forward, we've got to find things where we can create a niche. If you're building a vanilla building next to another vanilla building, next to another vanilla building, and they're all 200 rooms, how do you create any uniqueness? How do you create a niche? And I think for wellness retreats, you have to have a niche. There are a lot of people doing wellness, but there aren't a lot of people doing wellness well. And I think that's really the hope and the challenge that we really enjoy This group that we're working with today, you can see us there on the bottom. We're on site there. This was just 2 weeks ago. And we're having a lot of fun, but we're working hard and making sure that we get the details right. You know, as I close out my comments, you know, after all these years in the business and all these years in Southeast Asia, and even after this bit of a kick in the pants from COVID-19, I'm still exuberant about Southeast Asia. I think Thailand and Vietnam have been noted in being very well positioned for recovery. I still don't think there's a better place to be than Southeast Asia. If I could pick up and go anywhere today in the world, it would still be Southeast Asia. And I think our wellness is critical. With wellness comes happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. Where am I in that picture? I'm not in that picture, am I?
Yeah.
I surely would like to be there. I surely
Yeah,
would
absolutely.
like to. Yeah. Friends and all, please bring in your question. We have lots of questions coming in, pretty good questions coming in. We will take them immediately after this speaker. Well, I would like to introduce to you a close friend of mine in Malaysia who I always love to go. Isaac, and I call him in short KP. KP would always bring me around, good food and all. KP has 40 good years of experience in the property development in the real estate in Malaysia. I would call him basically a guru. He does valuation, property developers, owners will ask him, hey KP, look at this property of mine. It's sitting here for so many years. What can you do? How can you turn it around? So KP is the man that does all the feasibility studies and put things all in the right perspective. KP, Isaac, welcome and thank you for your time. The slot is yours. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Anthony. Thanks for inviting me to share some of my views. Thanks for the very brief introduction. My career has been in property industry for the last 30, 40 years, and most of it was in valuation and consultancy. But I must say in the last 3-4 years, there has been a lot of interest in Malaysia, looking at retirement homes, retirement villages, wellness resorts, and things like that. And that seems to be coming on the trend as far as Malaysia is concerned. I think Malaysia has been voted the #1 healthcare destination in the world by some studies. And that brings on quite well for the tourism industry for our country. We do about 26 million tourist arrivals a year compared to Thailand. Thailand is 40. We hope to catch up. I think Thailand is way ahead of us. With the current crisis that we are going through, I think our 26 million has gone down to maybe even below a million. Anyway, I'd like to look at the subject matter today of the hospitality design and innovation. The wellness trends in the country has really picked up in the last 3-4 years, coming out of healthcare industry developments. The medical industry in the country is doing very well. The medical tourism for the country is bringing in a lot of medical tourists from neighboring countries like Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, and other ASEAN countries. So a lot of local developers are going into the next level, which is the wellness components within their properties. And they are, in fact, looking elsewhere to see where those things are be able to put into our Malaysian map to hopefully increase the medical and wellness tourists into the country. In fact, just this morning, I read a news about economists and a lot of analysts talking about our tourism industry being affected by the crisis. Our local interstate travel has started to open up. So what that has done is a lot of local people have been cooped up in their homes a few months. Now they are going all over, and the latest one was in Langkawi. And Langkawi Island is swamped with local tourists. So local economists have been saying that domestic tourism is moving up very slowly. And when our borders are open, hopefully in the next few months, or probably by the end of the year, we will be able to get a lot of international tourists. We hope to be able to do better than our last year's 26 million tourists coming into the country. And one of the drivers of increasing tourism arrivals would be actually, of course, the hospitality sector, and how we should look at the hotel sector to attract these people to come back. I think the world over is experiencing the same thing. Malaysia is no exception. Our people locally are looking at what are the ways to be able to increase tourist arrivals. And the hospitality sector is right in the middle of it all. So as far as designs and innovations are concerned, all the hotel sectors, in my opinion, has always been about accommodation. Hotels has always been about accommodation and nothing else. Accommodation both for tourists as well as business travelers. I'd like to think that we could look at different uses for the hotel sector to innovate so that they can do better when we come back to the new normal. So I think everybody in the last few months had a chance to sit back and press the reset button. And this reset button is about what to do with their hotels for those that are not closed. We have something like 4,800 over hotels in the country, and more than 700 of them are already closed. If not, a few hundred more will close by probably the end of the year. So that's not so good news. But those that are remaining will probably be able to, if they have enough funds, they should look at what are the new innovations they should do. They should revisit, re-strategize about how to get back on their feet and try to attract those international tourists when our borders do open up. As I've said, I like to look at different uses. I categorize them into maybe city hotels as well as resort hotels. The city hotels, both the 4- or 5-star hotels and the budget hotels, have really suffered in the last few months. Even the big 4- or 5-star hotels have closed. A lot of budget hotels have closed. So if you look at the city hotels, what are the big ones that they can do? I mean, if they are in the city, maybe the new norms about working from home can convert into working from hotels. If you look at your hotels, if you can convert a section of your hotels into work from hotel suites, then that will be something that you can repackage your hotel room sales. If you can convert your rooms, executive rooms, into work from hotel rooms with high-speed internet, with video conferencing, PC stations, that kind of thing will be something that hotel owners can look at if they can work from hotels. As we get back into business, when our borders are open up, people will be traveling all over and they would be working from hotels as of, when the borders are open, when business come back. So working from hotels as opposed to work from home. Of course, in the last few months, working from home has been a new norm. We find a lot of businesses sending 30–50% of their staff back home to go and work from it, but not all homes are conducive for such kind of work. So especially when you're a business traveler, you would like to go to a space where stay in a hotel where you can actually work from home. I mean, work from the hotel. So maybe hotel owners can look at something like that, convert some of these rooms into work from hotel rooms. So that is something similarly to that would be co-working. As you know, co-working spaces now is the trend. All over the world, co-working spaces are sprouting out everywhere. No different in Malaysia. In Klang Valley, there are so many. There are so many co-working centers. International brand names are also here. So even hotel owners can look at co-working spaces within their hotel. If you can work out maybe your co-working spaces on your club floor, for instance. If your club floor is actually providing business meetings and all that, you can actually have co-working spaces there that your hotel guests can use. You can have business centers there. You can even have F&B co-working spaces, al fresco breakout rooms, and all of it. So there is a need to redesign and rework at some of those hotel spaces within the hotel to cater to the new trends of how people work nowadays. So that's how I would think that some of the hotels can look at different uses, to look at different innovative uses to attract the hotel guests back when business is going back to normal. So the other thing about lower end hotels, like the budget hotels and all that, they have suffered really bad because in the last few years they've been attacked, and huge competition from Airbnb accommodation. They have been attacked by people who are actually having homestays and all that. So the budget hotels are really suffering. So I thought that, in my opinion, the budget hotels can also innovate, can also look at revisiting and re-strategizing their hotel rooms into workstations as well, and some of these budget hotels can even be, if you like, student hostel accommodation. The reason I say this is because locally our schools have been closed. I think they're going to open very soon, in the next 1 or 2 weeks. But in the last few months, because the schools have been closed, a lot of parents of these children, they have no access to online kind of classroom learning and all that. So they've been fumbling, they've been trying so hard. And then if you're a budget hotel near schools and educational institutions, I think you can do a lot with your hotel rooms. If you can convert some of those rooms into online classrooms, you can actually rent it out, because budget hotels are really looking at what new users they can look at. So online classes within budget hotel rooms, and then converting some of these budget hotels into student hostel accommodation is another thing that you can look at, because as of the past, the budget hotel rooms are not getting anywhere, and this crisis have really made them suffer quite a bit. The other thing that I thought of was I mentioned in the beginning just now about retirement village and wellness resort and all that. They
Time is running a bit out. Let's give yourself another few minutes.
Okay,
one more minute.
We'll do, Anthony.
Really good. Really good. Yeah.
One more I want to say is about senior lifestyle homes. Senior lifestyle homes are now being thought about. Developers want to do this and that and all that. But hotels, if you're a 2-3 star hotel, you can actually convert your hotel into senior lifestyle homes. I mean, it's very easy to convert your smallish kind of hotels with maybe 40, 50 rooms into a senior lifestyle home. You incorporate the medical and wellness facilities within there, so that you can actually get a better use out of the hotels. If you just sell your hotels as room accommodation, I don't think you will get anywhere. So if I may end my talk about what I've been doing in the last 2-3 years, if Alex can put on the slide for me, I can mention a bit about what I've been doing in the last 2-3 years. The last 2-3 years, I had the opportunity of working with Anthony of AJT to look at different hotel conversions into wellness centers. This one is in Malacca. This is the Satori project. They are actually looking at converting two of their floors into wellness suites. So this is the direction a lot of local developers are going. Next slide, please. Next. This one is in the city area of Penang Valley. This one is a major integrated development, but they're looking at one of their towers into converting into a medical wellness suite, and this is the direction that they are going, because they are, as I said, tackling medical tourism from neighboring countries. So the neighboring countries, medical tourists would surely come into the city, and then they are looking at having a wellness hotel, medical suites within their development. Next one, please. This one is in Penang. This is more of a wellness resort. Again, like the one in Malacca earlier, the Penang beach resort, kind of wellness resort. They are also looking at wellness suites within their development as a hotel. And the last one, next one, please. This will be the last one that I want to show. This is in Uluyam, which is in the state of Selangor. This is in a forest area. So we talk about wellness in its pure form. These are many chalets that are hugging around a water body, as well as a flowing river in between, surrounded by forest. So all the wellness components can be put into this, and this is the new trend that is moving as far as the country is concerned. Thanks very much, Anthony.
Hey, thanks, KP. Thanks, KP. We got lots of questions, so I think now it's open to the floor with numbers of questions. I see there are about 4 or 5 questions that have already been replied by Gavin and Chris, but we would like to put them up front as well. But let's take those that have not been answered. Gavin, maybe you would like to take this one. What are the client's expectations on room, facilities, and amenities according to wellness designs? How many hotels are still cost concerned, but it also reflects how the hotels takes customers' wellness seriously or not?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I think the real key thing is, my comment earlier that you've got to find a niche. If you're doing the same exact thing as your neighbor, you're in trouble. The question in our industry always is, you've got to have a basic bathroom, you've got to have basic bedding, you've got to have a basic minibar. The question is, if you're going to add more, the guest room itself, will change fundamentally in providing better bedding, better purification, better air circulation. And these are all things that are really critical. But the cost per key in the room itself is really a pretty good return on investment when you consider what you can get for the additional rate. You're not, as a wellness retreat, as a wellness resort, we're not trying to attract people that just want to come to a basic hotel and go to the beach. We want people who are coming, who will probably spend a little bit longer and want to be able to embrace the wellness lifestyle. And I think with that, for the little bit extra that we spend in the room, the rate and the return is definitely there. And I had some examples earlier. I'm happy to take this one-on-one with anybody as far as the actual technical service requirements on the room. But we talked about, the facilities outside of the room, and that's probably even more important for the customer. When you look at the medical clinical building, when you look at the meditation buildings, and outdoor areas. How does all that come into play so that it's integrated into the whole experience? So it's not just the room, but it's the rest of the facilities as well.
Yeah, I think answer to that question is also, I think, how serious hotels or owners would put in. I think most value is put in the needs that customers really looking for. In terms of my opinion, when we do certain concepts, I think the room is one essential important, and bedding is one important. People are always lack of sleep, no matter how. For example, like me, I don't sleep anywhere better than going back to a hotel, and I miss traveling. When I travel, I always pick the hotel that I like, and I always ensure two things. The toilets are fantastic. They are great with good shower power. Two is the bed. So that's one. Another question here. I would like to pass this to KP. How do you see the wellness industry in Malaysia? Are the local developers getting into the industry in the next emerging trend, KP?
Yeah, definitely. As I've mentioned, my interest level in the medical and wellness industry in property developments has really shot up in the last 3-4 years, because many developers have come to us and talk about what do we do with the next trend in property development? What can we do with retirement village? What can we do with senior lifestyle homes? And they even looked at medical and wellness resorts. So there's a lot of many developers who've got properties that they would like to look at this direction, and the potential is definitely there to go this direction, because in the whole ASEAN region, we are lack of all this resort. I'm not sure about Thailand, but in Malaysia, definitely we are short of this. We don't really have pure wellness resort in the country. So many developers are hungry to look at directions, and look at designs, and look at how we can look at this direction and bringing the wellness thing into the market. And this will definitely, in fact, the government, the Ministry of Tourism is actually promoting this in a big way. We have met up with the Ministry of Tourism, who talked about helping local developers to go this direction, so that the country can gain the tourist dollar in this direction for medical wellness industry.
Thank you. Well, lots of questions coming in, please. We will try to answer them in the next 10 minutes. We already run out of time, but I would like to take the next 10 minutes to focus on certain questions here. Pretty interesting questions, so bear with us. If not, please scan our QR code and join our WhatsApp group, and we will take and reply your question there. So there are this question here, maybe Chris, you would like to take this one. Is the retirement resort kind of hotels and facilities has its prospect in the near future in the ASEAN? Have Swan been approached by many developers to look at building facilities of senior homes and senior living lifestyle, Chris?
Oh yeah, I think there's a growing interest and a growing realization by governments as well of the importance of retirement villages. And we've been asked both in Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam for these kind of developments. And I think when I've been out in Southeast Asia now for 15 years, as you know, starting out in Bangkok for 8 years, now in Singapore for 8 years. When I started talking to people about the tourism industry and the retirement industry of Thailand, nobody wanted to talk about retirement villages. They want me, they want my expat, they want me to buy a home there in Thailand and stuff like that. But they don't really, those days, cater for the needs of retirees, which means you need to tie in yourself with a medical facility. It's not good enough just to have a nice house on a golf course. When I'm out there whacking the ball away and I have a heart attack, how quickly can you get me to a center to get me all sorted out and back on the field again? And nobody wanted to talk about that. But these days, with the increase of course, Thailand is #1 in Southeast Asia for medical tourism. And they're #1 for tourism itself. Up to almost 50 million people going to Thailand before the virus hit, and things like that. Growing.
Maybe you take this one, the next one. It's pretty regular questions that I used to answer, but let you be the man to answer this one. What is the wellness suite what's the criteria of a wellness suite? Maybe you would like to put it in a few words.
That's for Kevin.
Kelvin, sure. Kelvin, what would you do it?
Or for yourself.
Yeah, I think for a wellness suite, if we look at the standard room, I think in a wellness suite, a couple of the extra components is an in-room workout area. I think people want to be able to get up in the morning, and to build in a in-room zone, it's a lot more than just a yoga mat. Yoga mat's a great place to start, but there's a lot we can do with easy devices today where people can get into a routine. If you get up in the morning, you don't have a planking routine or a stretching routine or a basic routine to get your day started, you're not doing it right. So if we can help people get on that track within a suite, I think we can allocate the space with what would already be designed as a suite space. It's not going to require additional square meters. It's just being a little smarter about the way we do it.
Thank you. Just another one since you are there. Will F&B establishment return making impact on hotel industry through collaboration rather than run by the hotels? So a third-party operator, what do you think?
I've always been open to outsourced restaurants. Number one, when we design new hotels, when we built and designed the My House Saigon, we specifically built a street front restaurant to make it not look like it was part of the hotel. Our psyche is it's part of a 5-star hotel, so it's going to be too expensive and it's not going to be great. So the idea of having a street front restaurant in the city, outsourcing it to someone else, why not? That just requires different associate access, requires different kitchen access, that can raise the cost. But I think it's something that's always been relative. I think post-COVID, people are going to be more careful about dining out. And I think in hotels, we've always had not great offers in hotels. And so people go out. When we go traveling, we want to go experience something else. You don't want to be trapped in the same place. So why do we expect people to want to stay in our resorts? If your resort is good and you can attract the local people, that's the real key. But as travelers, if I'm staying in a city or in a resort, I want to go see something else. The hotel may have the best restaurant in town, but I still want to get out and go do something else. So I think we've got to be practical, and that's part of the investment in the initial overall plan and looking at that return on investment.
Another good question here, I think, Kevin, you would want to take this. Anybody can take this, either Chris, Gavin, or even KP. Please let me know. Work from hotel is a very good idea. KP, this looks like it's coming from you. Focus on business travelers who might have different needs from leisure travelers. Would like to know more. Any hotels operated with this idea already? I think there might be more segments, needs on accommodation, such as for business, for leisure, for family, for seniors, travelers, etc. Well, guys, who would like to take this question?
Well, I'll just compliment Isaac on that one, because he's actually touched on something that, as you may know, a hotel I'm looking at the moment in Vietnam, we have a business segment to it, and we're adding in the wellness segment. But in my business segment, I thought, well, millennials and everybody, they don't do business the way we used to do business. So we incorporated one of those open spaces for people to have touchdowns and things as part of the WeWork kind of situation, but inside the hotel. So they can have their business meeting and they can have their relaxed bar meeting kind of thing. And it's exactly what Isaac was saying. So I think he's spot on that.
Yeah, that's a spot on from Isaac. Yeah. Isaac, you got any input on this one before we take another 2 more questions?
Just a quick one. On the question of business travelers, it's very important now. I mean, in the old normal was to go travel to another city elsewhere and then stay in a hotel and sleep and then go back to the business. But now business hotels should actually move on into having wellness facilities in there, having a new work from hotel kind of facilities, and so that you can have this new attraction for them. Yeah, Anthony.
Okay, that's great. Anything coming you from Kevin? Do you think you want to take this? Because this one, I think it's a very good question here. It carries a lot of weight in many aspects in terms of travelers, in aspect of different type of hotels. I think this is really a good question. Thank you for posting that question. There are some questions that's already been answered. I will not take them, but there's one just came in here. What percentage of wellness operation really knows their business versus those who are just jumping on the wellness bandwagon? I would like to answer this, but as a moderator, I wouldn't want to answer this. Gavin, I'll let you answer this one.
I think, as we talked earlier about some of the specifics, it's easy to greenwash or, wellness wash something and just say you're wellness. But I think if you're going to really sit back and make sure you want to make the investment, it's got to be meaningful. I was raised that if you're going to do something, do it well. When I would do something sort of halfway as a kid, boy, my dad wasn't happy. If you're going to do something, put everything you got into it, put every ounce of energy and make it work. And I think that's really critical in what we do. Anthony, one of the other questions I'll answer quick while I'm on, and I saw in the questions coming in, was about water. And I think in many parts of Southeast Asia where we can drill our own wells, there's really tremendous opportunity. We're going to reopen all of our existing hotels, and we're going to open 4 new hotels this year, 3 in Thailand, 1 in Vietnam. And all 4 of the new projects that were all Greenfield designed, we have reverse osmosis systems. And with that, we're able to bottle our own water. It's not even, I'm happy to see us go from plastic back to glass, but that glass has got to be transported. And that means trucks, and that means traffic and pollution. So if we can do more on property by designing some back of the house space with a proper reverse osmosis system, do our own bottling, do our own cleaning, we can really improve that life cycle and provide our guests with much better water without the harm to the environment.
Great. Thank you. So,
Anthony, sorry.
Yes.
I think also getting to that question about the operators and jumping on the bandwagon and wellness and stuff. There was a great phrase from a gentleman who founded Design Hotel Group of the World. And of course, they got bought out by Starwood a few years back, and then Marriott. But his approach to design hotels is fantastic. When they get applications for memberships, and he looks at it from one criteria, authenticity. And then it's authenticity again and again and again through everything they do, from operations, from design to service. So if you see somebody who's offering a wellness resort, and you find that there's something that doesn't sound right, doesn't fit the mantra that they're selling you, that's when you question the authenticity of it. And that's when you can look to people like Gavin and things for having the right brand, the right name, and the right concept of authenticity and approach. And it starts right down from the core.
Thank you, guys. I just got one last question, one last coming from myself. Because as you know, we are also consultants and all. We're all in the same boat in a way. This goes to Gavin. Gavin, what's the percentage that you're seeing people coming to you as a management company now, managing wellness hotel and or asking you to convert their existing hotels to a wellness property? How many percent do you see this coming in? Or even Chris, maybe you have owners who are coming to tell you to take over these old buildings and change it. Do you all see a big demand in that? Because I do see more and more people coming to me. I just want to do a kind of a benchmark, taking advantage of this platform to give myself some good answer to myself.
Yeah, I would say I would break this into pre-COVID, post-COVID. Pre-COVID, people didn't see the need. They saw the extra expense that came with wellness, and it was like, we'll let somebody else do that. I think post-COVID, we're all a lot more focused on health and wellness. And I think the idea of conversion, the case study I shared, there's a lot of opportunity to do that and do it really, really well. If there's already a bunch of people doing it in your neighborhood, then maybe it's not worth it. But if you can offer a unique position, then I think it makes a lot of sense. For me to have signed a new project post-COVID in the last 2 or 3 months, I never would have guessed that would have happened. Grew up in Koh Yao Noi, saw the urgency to get on with it now, why there's not much happening, and get the construction started. So I think there's going to be more people like that, and I hope in collaboration with guys like Chris and you, you know, if you get the experts at the table, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would second that, because as I showed in the slide, the project in the Philippines was going to be a normal resort. And then during this crisis, they've obviously been thinking and sitting down themselves in their working from home situations and saying, we can make this actually something extra that
Sure.
location doesn't have anything like. So
Great.
I agree. But also, I would say there's the degrees, because you don't have to go to a full clinic type wellness resort. Within the market itself, you can position soft touch, the medium touch, and the hard touch on it. So a resort can be looked at in different aspects of what elements of wellness that is suitable to their location. As Kevin says, if there are a lot of guys doing some aspect of it, then you don't do that. But if they miss the opportunity on another element, then you try and focus on that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, KP, for taking time coming today in AJT second webinar series. Thank you so much for sharing. I think I would love to carry on this topic, in fact, for the next 1 hour, but I think we don't want to use too much time of our participants. They all must have type busy schedule. And thank you all participants in joining our series. And please download our QR code into the WhatsApp group. We will take your questions for those who have not answered that. Our speakers will all be there in the room of the WhatsApp to basically answer your question. And we will also send you a recording of today's session. Now, please also pen down in your diary for the next series coming up on the 1st of July. It's called Creating Sustainable Wellness Real Estate Development. So this one here will be a very, very interesting topic. We have speakers coming in from the investors, people coming in from the banking. We even have a doctor, and we have a medical architectural experts coming from Swan and Maclaren, while we're giving Chris a break for the next session. So thank you so much. So please pen down on the 1st of July. And before we sign off, any last take-home message from the speakers to the panelists? I mean, to all the participants. Any take-home message?
Well, I think
Starting from Chris, any take-home message?
I'll kick off for myself. I think the panel, you have the opportunity here with Anthony, myself, and Kevin, and of course Isaac, to discuss this offline in any aspect that you want. We're always here as consultants for everybody. We look forward to discussing any needs that people have.
Thank you, Chris. Isaac,
yeah, I would just close with the same thing I said earlier. You know, wellness is happiness. We wake up every day and we get to make choices how we spend our life. And you've got to make a difference every single day. So tomorrow, wake up and make a difference in the way you're going to move forward. We're in some crazy times, but it can still be good.
I totally agree. Isaac, what's your take-home message?
Yeah, I'd like to tell the hotel owners who are now wondering what to do, to press the reset button and start re-strategizing and how to get back to your new normal. That would be my message.
All right. My take-home message to each and everybody: stay healthy, stay well, be safe, eat well, and wellness is always there at any time of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.